Hello and welcome to the Delta Diner. As a recap to our class at the Blue Heron last Thursday, one of the other menu items we did had to do with red meat. If you'll remember, we used the nice little tenderloin. These are beautiful New York strips from the 6th Street Market in Ashland, a partner of ours. We use many of their meats, sausage, bacon, and as you can see, some really fine looking cuts of steak. We're going to do this pepper encrusted, similar to a steak au poivre. So what I'm going to do is first prep up the steaks, and then we're going to saute them, hit them really hard. Actually, we're going to fry them, hit them really hard in a pan, and they're going to hold in the oven while we make a sauce, and the pepper cream sauce will go over the top at serving. These have a light rub of soy sauce, or you can use amino acids, as we did in class. We've got two favorite spices that we add to everything. The first is pepper. This pepper over here, by the way, is a combination of red peppercorns, green, black, and white peppercorns that we've actually crushed in a fashion. Actually, for this, I just used a coffee grinder. But you can see that there's some coarseness to it. You want it so that when you bite into it, you get some coarse. There's also some fines, so it's going to really encrust the steaks nicely. So I kind of duplicated a little bit of pepper there. You really don't need to add that on, but we are going to add some garlic to both sides of these. Garlic goes with everything. I'm going to add a little bit more. And then it's just a matter of, in class we did one side. We love pepper. So we're going to do both sides of this steak, and it's as simple as pushing it into the pepper, and you can see that it's fully encrusted. If you need to, move it around a little bit. Now we're doing a heavy covering on these because a lot of this is going to come out in the fry pan with all the nice residue from frying them in the fry pan, and that's going to become part of our sauce. So now we have the steaks that are ready. And what we're going to do is move over to the fry pan and fry those up. And the idea with this recipe, if you'll remember, is we're going to hit it hard. These are, with this thickness, we're probably going to hit them for 4 minutes a side, and it's going to be about a half hour, maybe 250 degrees in the oven. What will happen is we'll get a really nice char on both sides of this. It only, because of the short time in the pan, it's not going to go deep into the steak. Then we get them in a 250 degree oven. We use 225 with the tenderloins just because they weren't quite as thick and they cook a little faster. This is a little denser meat. So you get this really wonderful char, and then this uniform, we're going for medium rare, doneness from top to bottom, which creates just a beautiful steak and very tender. All right, as you can see, we've got a good medium, almost medium-high heat, and we got a lot of BTUs on this range. So we want a pretty hot pan to do this in. You can do it in cast iron, you can do it in whatever kind of pan you have. Some might be a little better in terms of grabbing onto some of the char, so you can use it in your sauce, but it's going to turn out good no matter how you do it. Want to let the pan heat up so that we're getting a good sizzle on this, and have a timer nearby so that you can time these steaks. What we're going to do is it's going to be 4 to 5 minutes a side with this steak. If you use the little tenderloins we did in class, 4 minutes a side. You're going to hold it in the oven 225 degrees for 30 minutes while you make your sauce and your other side salads or whatever you would like. We're going to do this a little differently just because these are big, dense New York strips. We'll go a little bit longer. All right. So, I'm going to position these in the skillet. Getting a little bit of this. I'm going to turn this up just a little bit. And we're going to start timing. We're going to go 5 minutes on these. And just a reminder from what we talked about in class, you're cooking not just with your eyes, you're cooking with your ears, you're cooking with your nose. Anytime you're sauteing or frying like this, you're going to want to listen to what the ingredients are telling you based on what the sizzle is. Here we've got a really nice sizzle. I see a little smoke, so it's charring, but it's not an angry sizzle that tells me that it's going to burn and it's not going to end up the way we want it to be. So you're hoping for a nice sizzle, but you don't want it to be screaming at you. All right, we've gone for just over 5 minutes on these, so let's flip them and see how they're looking. Got a really nice char on there. Those are going to be some really beautiful steaks. I can turn my heat up just a hair. Now we're going another 5 minutes on this side before we put them in the oven. These we're going to put in the oven at 250. The tenderloins I recommend 225. And they're going to stay in the oven for about a half hour, and it should get us pretty darn close to really nice medium rare. Now our steaks, the first stage, are getting pretty close to where we want them. I've got 1 minute left in terms of searing them. What we're going to do is put them on a tray, and we're going to put them in the oven, leave them there for a half hour while we finish up our other stuff. Make a nice little sauce in here. Now if you look at this, because it's non-stick, you'll see that we're not getting a lot of residue on the pan. If you're using stainless steel, you would get more, so that impacts your sauce. But you shouldn't freak out about it. It's easy. Since we're leaving less of the steak residue in there, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to up the proportion of base in my base that you'll see we're using, where it's a little stronger base, so it adds a little more beef flavor into it. This isn't rocket science. This is easy stuff. It should be fun. You play with it, and the first time you do it, you may end up with a sauce that's too light on the base or too heavy. No big deal, because the next time you make it, you just adjust, and pretty soon it works every time. So let's get these out of the pan. I'm going to turn my heat off. That's what the other side looks like. And it's just really going to be difficult to eat these steaks tonight to see if we got it to work the way we wanted to. All right. So now over here you'll see our oven. These are a little bit fancy convection ovens at the diner, but it can be just a standard oven. Doesn't have to be convection. In fact, with the convection, it's going to cook a little faster. So you might want to reduce your temperature by 25 degrees if you have convection. But I'm putting this right in here. There's our timer. I guess we hit it right. And I'm going to set my timer on this for 30 minutes. Now, if we're having a dinner party for 12 people and all your best friends are over, guess what? You're standing in the kitchen, you're drinking a glass of wine, and you're not sweating because you've got 12 steaks to put on the grill. They're all in the oven, and they give you 30 minutes to make your salad, make your side, have a glass of wine, talk to people, and enjoy the evening, which is the key to some of these tips. Make it simple, make it more enjoyable for you. All right, I believe our steaks are done. We're going to cover those with tin foil. Just tented with tin foil. All right, we're ready to do our sauce in the pan that we seared the steaks. One thing what we do need in order to do this is we've got to chop up some mushrooms. Want this to be a nice small dice. I have this nice, a larger knife, a larger chef knife would work well for this, but this is going to work just fine too. Just chop these up. So now a lot of folks might, after this sautés in that pan, they may pull out the chunks, and so that they have a smooth sauce. I kind of like some texture to the sauce, so I'm just going to leave the mushrooms in, and it will add some great flavor to it. All right. Just going to put that in the pan. Now, as I said, if we had used a stainless steel pan for this, we're going to have more kind of braised leftovers from the steak, and we'd have a little more juice in there. What I'm going to do is fire this back up. I'm just going to put a touch of olive oil in there just to help those mushrooms start to sizzle a little bit. So we're going to have some pepper that we're going to add back into this because we want this to be a pepper cream sauce. We're going to cheat a little bit because I don't have as much residue in there from the steaks because it's non-stick. And what I'm going to do is with my beef broth, I went a little heavier on the base. So it's a little stronger beef broth than I would normally use if I had a lot of residue in there that's going to add to the flavor. Red wine. If there were a need to seriously deglaze this pan, meaning release all that good stuff off the pan to get it in the sauce, we'd use red wine. We're going to use it anyways because red wine adds great flavor. So whether or not you're doing a lot of deglazing or not, you want to add some red wine. And then the last thing is heavy cream. And that's going to be the thing that really makes this sauce come together. You can see we're doing okay with these nice little diced morsels of mushroom. I want those to brown up real nice. You can see that there is some nice residue from the steaks, and that's heating up real well. We're going to let this brown, and then we'll get the red wine in there. In fact, I think we're doing just fine with that right now. So I'm going to turn this down a little bit. I'm going to take it off the heat to add some red wine. So that it doesn't flame on me. And here I'm just going to move it around. You can see that's reducing quite quickly. I'm going to bring it back over here. That way it doesn't flame up on us. Now, again, if this were not a non-stick, I would probably have a spatula that I would be moving this around to get everything up off the pan. No need to do that here. I am going to add my broth. We like pepper, so I'm going to take some of the pepper left over from, and it's nice also to maybe just lightly crack some peppercorns so you get a really nice, coarse peppercorn mixture in here. I'm going to get this up to the point where it's simmering again, and then I'm going to add our cream. And then once the cream's in there, really all you're doing is you're keeping a stir on it, and we'll try and attain the same simmer that we had in class the other night. But you want a full light simmer across the pan once the cream is in there, and that's just going to reduce itself down to a really nice peppercorn cream sauce. As you can see, our base, red wine, mushrooms, and all that good stuff in the pan is nice simmer. And what I'm going to do is turn it down just a bit. I'm going to add our cream. And I'm really just adding cream, not a specific measurement. As you play with this recipe more, I'm looking for a light chocolate milk. And that's about what I want right there. You can see the black pepper is floating. You can see the mushrooms in there. We'll bring the heat back up, and we're gonna fiddle with this a little bit to get the right amount of simmer on this so that it reduces. It's going to take a few minutes, but when it does, we'll show you what you're looking for in the pan while it's simmering and reducing. So I'm just going to keep moving this around. Being careful, I've got a non-stick here and I've got a metal whisk, so I'm not going to be sure not to mar that. Bring the heat down just a hair. And you can see that there's an even simmer. You see all the little bubbles? Now it's a little too hot on the edge because the bubbles are breaking. So I'm going to make sure my pan's centered here on the heat. And that's just a nice simmer because it's just kind of, you may or may not be able to see it on the video there, but it's not a hard boil. It's not just an occasional bubble. There are bubbles happening throughout the mixture. This is probably going to take 15 minutes to reduce. All right, as you can see, the simmer continues throughout, and you'll notice we have a big wide pan here. Number one, we can put more steak in it, but you also want to do your sauce in this because you want as much surface area as possible to reduce this as quickly as possible. And you don't have to overheat it to get that done in the time frame of your meal preparation. So you can see it's starting to simmer pretty good on the outside, so I'm just going to keep moving it around so it doesn't heat too much. But with the big pan, you know, there isn't an eighth of an inch of liquid in here, so it's going to reduce really nicely. But that's all coming together, and that's going to be a really, really nice cream sauce. A little tip when you're doing a cream sauce like this, watch the edge of the pan. Now you see how how long it takes to recede down changes as it thickens. So if right now it's moving down pretty quickly, but it has thickened quite a bit. In another 45 seconds, it's gonna move very slowly when it comes down, and that tells you you're getting close. All right, we're almost there. And if you look, when we kind of push that up on the side, it's not breaking apart till right now. And whereas initially, that would have just, you know, spread right off of there and dropped back down into the bottom. So I'm guessing we're about 30 seconds away here from our sauce. All right, so we've had it tented while the sauce finishes up, and that's what these look like. What I'm going to do is I'm going to cut one of these in half and see how we did on doneness. And if you take a look, top to bottom, medium rare, really nice char top and bottom, but the vast majority, and this is why this technique works, normally it might be a little gray on top, gray on the bottom, and just some nice pink in the middle. You got nice pink all the way through this steak. So we're going to take this, we're going to put it on a plate. Going to take the other part, put it on a plate. And then another portion on a plate. All right, so our sauce is ready, and you can see that's just a really nice consistency for this sauce. So we're going to spoon it in, and it's just going over the top. Move over to the next one. Want to make sure we get some of that nice mushroom in there. And last but not least, get this one. There you have it. A really simple, easy to do. This one happens to be New York strip. It could be tenderloin, it could be sirloin, flat iron steak, which is thinner, so you're reducing all your sear time and your oven time, but apply it to whatever you want, and it should be a meal that everybody enjoys. Thanks again for including us in the class and spending some time with us, and we hope this follow-up is helpful, reminding you, and you'll also find the recipes for these items and the others that we talked about in class posted on our blog site.